Hey everybody, Brian from Minutes for Free Honey again. I'm continuing my series on melting wax and getting the wax out of the frame. So these are our cut comb frames that we harvest honeycomb from. And when you get done, all the grooves are filled with honeycomb. There's a little bit of debris left. And before you can reuse this frame again, we have to clean all of that wax out of those frames. I did the wax melter video, the last video, in a big pot, and it worked fine. But I couldn't fit enough frames in that big pot, and I did get a little bit of debris left on the frames from the burr comb that was in there, and the brood comb that was in that pot. So I started thinking of a better way I could melt more wax at one time in a more convenient manner without working as hard as I did last time. So we have our frames, and what I came up with is simply a inner cover. This is just a standard inner cover, has an upper entrance in it, and all I've done is take some tuck tape, tape the entrance shut, and I'm going to use this for the base of my wax melter. So you have the upper entrance on the front. It's going to sit, and I just got 2 entrance reducers, and it's going to sit on my bench here with those at the back and that upper entrance upside down to act like a trough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wax frames. These are all dirty cut comb frames with wax all in them, and I'm going to set them in a nice stack on top of that inner cover. And right now we have 3 boxes, all full of wax on the frames that we need to clean off. So I'm going to stack those 3 boxes on top of each other like this. Then I took another inner cover, and all our inner covers we have notches in them. So this one, I taped the entrance but turned it upside down so that I can create a seal on top. So right now that tape's going to block steam from coming out of that hole. And then we have our boxes stacked on top of each other. So there is now a chamber built inside, but there'll be air leakage out of all those cracks, and I want to try to keep as much steam in there as possible. So I have some of this green painter's tape that is hopefully going to stick to the boxes, but it'll be easy enough to pull off after I'm done. And I'm just going to take that green painter's tape and seal up around all of these boxes in that crack. So we get that crack. Sorry about, we're at the shop. Phone rings all the time. We'll get rid of that for now. Let somebody else answer that. So I'm just going to take the top crack, and then I'm going to go around to every one of the joints where steam could leak out, and I'm going to tape up all of those joints there also. And what I'm trying to do is create a chamber, sort of like a pot with a lid, that is airtight-ish, except for the drain hole, which is at the bottom here, so that the steam will circulate through the boxes and come out that bottom drain hole. And it should, by theory or by my thoughts, be enough to melt all of the wax off all those frames, and any excess wax and steam should drip out the bottom hole there. So we'll just do the bottom section here. I need longer arms. And I'll edit it anyways. And then we have the whole box now taped up. So it's a top cover, upside down, so it's airtight, all taped around the seams. And then we have 3 boxes stacked on top of this with the steams taped all the way around to make sure it blocks most of the cracks to keep the steam inside the wooden boxes. And then at the front here, in the middle, is that hole. So I'll break out that little hole, and that's where our exhaust steam is going to go out the bottom. Now on top of our steamer, we have our hose. And because I'm just trying this, I'm not going to put that fitting is still in the lid of the other steam pot. So what I'm going to do is get a knife. Thank you, Kiara. Get a knife for my daughter. And I'm going to cut a little hole in that tape that I stuck in that hole on top. Put a little hole in there, and I'm just going to try to wedge this pipe in there so that it is snug in there, and the steam will now go from my steam boiler into here and circulate the steam around inside. Then we will take our hose and screw it onto our steamer. Again, we filled up our steamer with water. The fill cap's on top. You fill it up with water up to the fill line that's on the machine. This again is the Wagner steamer. You can buy it on Amazon. I am affiliate on Amazon, so I'll get 50 cents if you buy that off of Amazon through the link that is below. And we have that filled up. The idea being the steam will be pumped into the box through this hose. It'll fumigate the box with steam. That steam will melt all the beeswax, and then the beeswax and water will drip out the bottom. So I'm gonna go grab an extension cord, plug the steamer in, and then we'll see how this little experiment works. Be right back. So I got my plug, my extension cord. Now this is a appliance grade extension cord. When you're using anything that has a heat source on it, you want to make sure you're using appliance grade extension cords and the shortest cord possible. So I have my steamer filled up to the safety line, and then I'm just going to plug it in. I'll plug that in. Now we're going to let that sit there for a bit. It takes about 20 minutes, a half an hour for it to start generate steam. And as it's doing that, we'll come back intermittently and check to see how it's doing. And my goal, honestly, is that this will work fantastic, and it'll be a nice, easy way to melt the honeycomb off my frames. Not only saving time because I don't have to take all the frames out. I can just take my honeycomb boxes, stack them up as many as I want high, tape the joints. I don't even have to take the frames out of the boxes. And then if it does work, as soon as I get done, this will be able to go into the guys, and the guys can also put foundation back in them very easily without handling the frames a lot. And I find a lot of beekeeping, you spend a lot of time picking things up and putting them down, and that takes away from the time that you can spend doing other things, working with your bees. Anyways, we'll do an update in a second once this starts steaming out, and we'll see if wax starts dripping out the bottom. So I had to go back and replace the tape. I just used that painter's tape to begin with. And after the water had steamed for 10 minutes, the painter's tape started letting go and falling off the hive. So I had to unplug the steamer, let everything cool down inside. I did look in, and a lot of the wax had already melted off those frames, not to my satisfaction. And then I had to let the wood dry out because all along the cracks where the painter's tape was, it was all wet. So I had to let it dry out for about an hour. And then I grabbed the tuck tape, not duct tape, tucked tape. Best tape you could ever use for pretty much anything. I grabbed the tuck tape and I retaped all the joints in the boxes with tuck tape. And it's steaming, and a little bit of water has come out of the bottom hole. Not too much, but it is steaming and filling it up enough that the little bit of water is coming out. When wax starts coming out, I'll do an update about the wax coming out, and I'll let you know the progress. So it's melting the wax. There's a bit of wax there. It's slowly dripping out the front bottom little entrance in the hive there.
it is congealing or hardening up before it drops in a lot of it. So a bit of wax dripping into there. A lot of wax on the inner cover, or the upside down inner cover. My concern is that by the time it gets onto the inner cover, there's not enough heat in it left to make it run out the front door. But my concern really wasn't collecting the wax. On this, I wanted to see if the steam is hot enough to actually just get the wax off the frames. There really isn't that much wax on the frame. And if, 5 minutes of work and an hour of waiting will clean out 3 or 4 boxes of honeycomb frames so I can reuse them without having to scrape all that stuff off, that'd be my thing. So we'll let this run for a little bit more, and then we'll shut it off, open it up, and see what the results are. So putting the red tuck tape on the boxes, sealing up the cracks, worked fantastic. You can see the wax drip down. A lot of wax there for just, 18 frames I think were in there. No other wax, just the wax on the frames themselves. So there's a bunch of wax in there. I did unplug it, let it cool down. And we have a nice, stalagmite of wax there. It finally did start pumping out the bottom, so we were having a problem before with all the leakage that it was just building up here, but with the extra sealing of the cracks, the steam was able to keep it liquid enough inside. So now we're gonna pull that tape off and see how clean it cleaned our frames. Now we got the tape pulled off. That red tuck tape sticks really well. To the painted boxes, it came off okay, but anything that was raw wood, it stuck really well to that. There is some tape residue on my box that I can't get off. And not a bad thing, at least I know anything with red tuck tape on it is a comb super, so it'll be easy to identify them in the field. So we'll open up the top cover with the hose sticking through. And there's our frames. So pull out the frames. All the wax is melted off of them. All the grooves are empty. Even out to the edge here. There is a little bit of that hive residue, dust and dirt and stuff in there. But the grooves are all empty, which is the important part. Look at the second box. You can see where some of the slum gum stuff and debris out of the hive dropped down onto the top bars, didn't wash itself off. But then you look at the grooves. Grooves are completely clean, which was my purpose in doing this. Try another one here. Groove is clean, top and bottom. So right down to the second box is quite nice. Look at the third box. If I can get it apart, I'm gonna have to try to finagle this one-handed. If I can get my knife open. So my hive tool, this is what I use a lot of times. I get out in the yards doing something and can't remember where I put my hive tool. So I always got a snifty little pocket knife in there, works well. So I'll pull the second box off. And again, you can see there is some of that hive debris that falls down and lands on top of the bars. But that's not a bad thing. And then a bottom box. Again, the grooves are clean. A little bit more debris on the bottom frames. Oh, but that's clean. That groove's clean. So might need a little bit of fine polishing or something before we get the comb back in it. But if you look in there, other than that little piece on the left, that bottom groove is completely empty of comb. The top groove is perfect. So overall, worked well. Little bit of an issue there, I guess. Not much of an issue, but the wax, because I just use wood and I just had it tilted forward, just that bottom board, a little bit of wax built up on the bottom of the frames here that will have to be scraped and peeled off. But if that's all I have to do is scrape some wax off the outside of the frame, that's not bad. And that's the bottom board, so you can see where all the wax dropped down and ran out that little nozzle into the trough, and a bunch of it built up
on the bottom there. So might have to figure out something else, but to me that's honestly not bad. If I were to put an empty medium box on the bottom with no frames in it, and then stack the frames on top of that, then none of this, all this wax that lands on the bottom and builds up would be on that inner cover, and there'd be an empty box here, so none of it would stick to the frames. So I think a really great experiment, worked really well. I'm quite happy with it. Something I can work with for 10 minutes of labor, stacking these boxes on there, taping them up, hooking the machine up, letting it run for an hour, hour and a half, burnt half a gallon of water up, so almost no BTUs used. I cleaned for 3 boxes up. So I think that's a great way to use a steamer to melt the wax residue off your frames. And then you can collect this neat little stalactite. And then we can take that, just throw that in our wax melter, and we can wax it down and refilter it. We make some creams and salves, candles, all that neat stuff. Anyways, Brian from Innisfil Creek Honey, always trying to find neat and inventive ways to do things in your hives. And I hope somebody found this useful. Get outside, enjoy your bees, enjoy the beautiful country you live in, no matter where it is. Have a good one.